Hello and welcome. You are. Hello and welcome. You are watching Cricket Romania, the show where we put back to ball on all things cricket. Joining me is sports journalist extraordinaire, Mr. Ayaz Memon. Hello, Ayaz.
Thanks, Shilpa.
Also sharing that title is another guest who's joining us today, Mr. Pradeep Magazine.
Hi.
Hi, hello, sir. So let's get straight to the burning topic, the burning issue, the big news in the cricketing world today. N. Srinivasan, president in exile of BCCI, has been appointed as the new chairman of the ICC. First thoughts, Ayaz.
Well, look, I think this has been on the anvil. I mean, it's been under process for a while. There's been a lot of opposition to it. There's been a lot of speculation whether he will become the chairman or not. Finally, it's happened. I think what really kind of cleared the decks for him was that the Supreme Court in India, which has ordered a fresh investigation into the IPL 6 scam, where N. Srinivasan's team, Chennai Super Kings, is involved, and obliquely, therefore, his son-in-law, and obliquely, therefore, even him. The Supreme Court didn't kind of debar him from becoming chairman of the ICC, though it had not allowed him to take back position or start functioning as the BCCI president even now. He's still not functioning as the BCCI president now.
Right, so the Apex Court hadn't stopped his nomination from becoming the chairman of the ICCI, but while the Supreme Court had asked him to step aside from the presidentship of the BCCI, why was he asked to step aside?
Well, that's because the investigation is going on into the scam, and he was asked first to step aside. Then they've ordered a fresh probe under Justice Mukul Mudgal with an enhanced panel with more powers. Mr. Srinivasan did petition the Supreme Court that he should be allowed to take back office or resume office as BCCI president. The Supreme Court said no, but it did not stop him from becoming the ICC chairman. Though there was a petition against that from the Cricket Association of Bihar, the Supreme Court said no, he can go ahead and become president of the ICC chairman.
Right. I remember when this news was out, there was something about a white envelope, not a sealed envelope with a few names, and Mr. Srinivasan had alluded to it, saying there is the Supreme Court has said there might be some information in it, which, is at loggerheads with me being the president of the BCCI. Any thoughts about what was there in the envelope?
See, that's the case which is going on in India. That's about the IPL 6 scam. In the earlier panel which probed it, apart from the Mudgal report which came, there was an envelope given to the Supreme Court in which apparently it said that there are 13 names, one of which allegedly is of Srinivasan.
Wow.
That envelope has still not been, in a sense, opened and probed. So I think Mr. Srinivasan himself perhaps admits that perhaps his name is possibly there. But where the chairmanship of the ICC is concerned, I think this has been under process for the last maybe 5-6 months, maybe even longer. The whole game plan of how the ICC would be, in a sense, rejigged, restructured, came through a couple of months back. There's the Big Three club, which involves India, Australia, and England, where it's a little complex to explain in a short program, but where the sharing of the spoils will be predominantly in favor of these three countries. The other countries will get, on a pro rata basis, lesser amounts. There was a hue and cry about it from other countries. Finally, everybody seems to have agreed.
Right.
So, in a sense, these three countries are more powerful than the other countries, and of course, India is the most powerful.
Of course, India being the most powerful, and we have another powerful voice on our show, Mr. Pradeep Magazine. So, your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Ayaz has explained it quite well, all the intricacies of how and why it happened. But I would also like to add is that from a personal perspective, or even a larger perspective, many people, and I am with them, that Srinivasan should not have been made the ICC chairman, for the simple reason that if he has conflict of interest in India, and if the Supreme Court asks him to not be part of the BCCI running, then that man should not be heading ICC. After all, even ICC deals with its members on cricketing matters. And if the man is under cloud in his own country, how and why should he be heading the international body? I think that's a question which ICC and its members, which include all other countries, need to explain to the cricketing fans that what they have done is I don't think is principally right.
So, speaking of a man with clout, let's bring up his profile on the screen. Right. So he is
I just want to share what or add or to what Pradeep has said. I think it's it's very relevant, and this is something that's been buzzing all over the cricket world, which is that how come there is a moral position also apart from the legal position, that while Mr. Srinivasan says that his conscience is clear, the fact that there is a case which is raging, should he then have taken that position? He has shown himself to be a very stodgy person where following the legal path is concerned. So he has pursued it very diligently. Everything has been legally defined for him, and therefore he has reached this position where there is no legal bar to his accepting or becoming or assuming the chairmanship of the ICC. What also is a little kind of quirky, and quirky is a mild word, is that almost every other cricket board seems to have agreed finally to his becoming the chairman. So the danger for him is that there is a vulnerability. Suppose tomorrow the Justice Mukul Mudgal panel indicts him directly, then what happens? Is he going to have to surrender his chairmanship of the ICC? He's taken that step and he says, no, my conscience is clear, but what if the Mudgal committee finds it otherwise? So there is a vulnerability to him still attached. It's not just, all gung-ho.
Right, but the FICA has objected to this appointment. They have raised their voice against him. So
yeah, I mean they have, but I don't know. And Pradeep will perhaps bear me out. We'll ask him his opinion. See, FICA is the Federation of International Cricketers Association, but no Indian player is a member of FICA. I don't think there are players from Pakistan or Bangladesh. And the other part, of course, is that players from Australia, from South Africa, from the West Indies, from Sri Lanka, from New Zealand, barring England, they're all such, they're all participants in the Indian Premier League. They are getting a benefit out of playing in India, where, BCCI president was N. Srinivasan, or the Indian Cricket Board is so rich and powerful that it is kind of giving them the financial benevolence. So it becomes difficult whether they'll get enough members to oppose this. I don't know what Pradeep's thoughts are on this.
Well, look, the problem here is that why aren't there no members from India, say from the subcontinent? For the simple reason that India has no players union, and the Indian board does not allow a players union. In fact, it goes against it, and also it is not allowing them to be part of FICA. Same is the case of Pakistan. So the problem arises from our own countries, where we are not giving players an independent voice, where they can raise their grievances, they can talk to the board, and get them addressed. One is that problem. I think secondly, as you said, that the blame also lies on all other member countries, that they did not have the courage, or they did not want to go against Srinivasan or the Indian board. And that is very simple, because they know that the money comes from there. If they agree to this kind of an arrangement where three countries now dominate the ICC, they get the maximum share of the revenue, where India gets the most benefits. India's point of view is that because they generate the maximum revenue, that's why they should benefit also the most. But in a sporting perspective, you can't do this, that it's like if Brazil wins the World Cup, it should get the maximum FIFA revenues and other countries shouldn't. That's not how the sporting world functions. So I think what India is doing here is just muzzling its financial voice, and the other countries are just caving in, which in the long run may do greater harm to the world cricket than any benefit.
Elaborate on the fact, at least the aspect of no Indian players being there in FICA is one of that's, I think, a big setback actually even in the medium run, if not in the short run. or the long run certainly, there has never been a very robust cricketers association in India for some reason. This is even before the BCCI became a juggernaut. There has been a players union in the past. There were people like Bedi and Kapil Dev and Gavaskar, and right up to perhaps even Kumble and the first few years of the Tendulkars, Kumble's, and Dravids. But after that, it seems to have kind of disappeared altogether. Now, I think that a strong players union, I don't mean union in the negative sense,
Right.
but a body which represents players' interest is very, very important.
Right.
It's not only about monetary benefits that you get, but it's also about other related matters. It's about how the game is progressing, what can be done to improve it, the technical aspect, the administrative aspect. And I think that Indian cricket is doing itself a disservice. If the administration is muzzling the players, then the administration is being short-sighted. If the players are muzzling themselves, are not showing enough, need to become voices, effective voices, then I think they're short-selling themselves.
Right, all right. So we have both of views in on this. Let's see what the people feel about N. Srinivasan becoming the new chairman of the ICC.
More of corruption, more of match fixing. It just shows that anyone corrupted can get into cricket again with the power.
I don't expect nothing from him, seriously, because after that controversy regarding Chennai Super Kings and that corruptions, I don't think he's supposed to be the chairman, sorry. I don't expect anything from him. Someone with clean record should be appointed as the chairman, not him.
He's been already involved and he's been a controversial figure related to the scams of IPL. So he getting that position and he being the ICC chairman, we cannot expect much from him right now. So it would have been better if someone else would have taken that post.
I want to congratulate Mr. Srinivasan for being the chairman of the ICC Cricket Board. Want him to do some good things for the cricket board, and for the players. I need to organize some good tournaments and for the youngsters who really have good talents, and he can promote them in the future.
It's just expected that whatever he has done in the past, he should forget all this. He should keep all that aside and get into a good work and bring the local people outside. Like in football, they have bought someone outside, so it's very good if they can find out talented people from small areas.
He has to do only whatever is going on should continue. That's all. I don't think cricket has saturated now for India. What more he can do, I don't know. By way of funding, funds are already there. Let him continue what is going on, and not involve politics in the cricket.
Well, he seems to be that way competent, but there has been a lot of opinion against him. But I feel he's okay. He will do something for Indian cricket.
He should develop the Indian cricket team. He should concentrate to develop the Indian cricket team.
He is okay is the best thing that was said about him. That's quite disheartening. And also, but in stark contrast to these people who do not believe in him, are the 29 out of the 31 people who re-elected him as the BCCI chairman, the people who elected him as the chairman of the ICC. So there seems to be a bit of discordance here. The public is clear on the fact that he should not be given an administrative position at all, much less in the ICC, whereas what's happened is the exact opposite.
Well, I mean, look, just to play devil's advocate, what the public feels is not necessarily what is right.
Fair.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. So, Mr. Srinivasan has taken a position against adverse public opinion and said, I'm going to fight it, contest it legally, because what people think about me is not what I am. As he said, my conscience is clear, and this, that, and the other. I might also mention that globally in sports, administrators across the world in different sports are coming under a lot of scrutiny, harsh scrutiny. Not all of them are being looked at favorably, even including Mr. Sepp Blatter, who's head of the FIFA. So that's the lot of the administrators. Having said that, I think there are serious challenges now which confront Mr. Srinivasan. One is, of course, there are rumblings even now. FICA is one of them. While other member boards have been quietened now, we don't know what's going to happen later. What are the three big challenges facing international cricket? And therefore, as chairman of the ICC, he's going to face them. The biggest is corruption in the sport.
Right.
And therefore, he will be in the line of fire willy-nilly.
Right.
The other is, how do you sucker Test cricket? We've seen now that even with great series being played, New Zealand versus West Indies, there's no spectators.
Half-empty stadiums, if any.
Totally empty in the West Indies. In England, which is actually a test-watching country, Sri Lanka versus England, 2 great test matches. On the last day of the match, not many spectators. So how do you sucker Test cricket? The third, I think, is how do you internationalize the game? One of the problems, and we'll take Pradeep's opinion on this, is that how 3 boards have been able to get into a dominant position because there are only 8 or 9, 10 boards. Yeah. Unlike football, where there are almost 200 countries, or hockey, where there are 150 countries. Yeah. So the weightage in cricket moves or is skewed towards a couple of boards or 3 or 4 boards which are providing all the eyeballs and all the money. There is no division of the spoils in the proper sense. Yeah. So these are the challenges. Should he get cricket into the Olympics? The Olympic fold wants cricket. T20 cricket can go into the Olympic fold. Is Mr. Srinivasan going to be, have that much vision to take it there? We don't know. So these are the 3 challenges which I feel is confronting the sport and therefore also the chairman.
Right, and if he does manage to get into the Olympics, that's one step closer to absolution from the public.
It's not absolution, but it's expansion of the game.
Fair enough.
I don't know what Pradeep feels about it.
Well, I know cricket is facing a huge crisis of, in fact, of identity, if you might say so, because cricket, as we knew, was Test cricket. But over the years, one-day cricket came in, and it came in because the finances started drying up. Now it's T20 and it's IPL. It's also there because the logic of market suggests that more people, because they want to watch the shorter format of the game, the sponsors are investing more money in these shorter formats. They are not investing that much in Test cricket. So there is this problem that the purest form of the game may one day die. And as Srinivasan, as ICC are facing these challenges, but how do they deal with it? I think if you have a man who is heading the ICC, is himself owning an IPL team, it's very clear where do his personal interests lie. Do his personal interests lie in the larger good of the game, or how does he look at the game? Does he look at the game that, look, Test cricket shouldn't die and we have to save it, or does he look at how do we generate more profits? I'm afraid that a man like Srinivasan probably would think of how to generate more profits. And he knows the profits come from, say, a game like IPL, where he owns his own team, because there he has a conflict of interest. So if you put that man at the helm, you already know, maybe I am jumping the gun, but you already know what his roadmap would be. And that is where I feel that a man like him, who has this kind of a conflict of interest, should not be heading a cricket body, because finally, what is a cricket body? It's not there to generate profits. Yes, profits are an important, these are important things because you have to run the game. But its main focus is it's a trustee of the sport. And if the trustee itself only thinks in terms of profits and benefits, then I think the game might be harmed in the long run.
That's an interesting point that Pradeep has raised, and I think that this is obviously a concern. The only a bottom line approach, it may look good in the balance sheet, but it may not really help the sport. I think that's the point that Pradeep is making, and I completely concur with it. So therefore, and we are leaving the controversial aspect of whether Srinivasan should have been there or not, and I'm just saying, as the chairman of the ICC, I think prioritization, apart from how to kind of shackle corruption or eliminate it, that apart, that's a far wider complex debate. Where Test cricket is concerned, and Pradeep, I'm just spelling out, I think we have now come to the conclusion, all of us who are cricket lovers and Test cricket lovers, that you will not get hordes and the masses following it.
Right.
That day and age has passed.
Right.
The whole mass of youngsters, they want maybe the instant gratification of T20 cricket, which is fair enough.
So has Test cricket aged into an acquired taste?
It has. And I think therefore, like fine wine, like fine arts, like heritage, subjects or buildings or whatever, or legacies, it needs to be preserved for what it is. And therefore, it needs to be given like an upper crust within the sport itself. Everything should be done to make that positioning clear. The attraction, the appeal of Test cricket is because you love the legacy. The Taj Mahal may be 600 years old or 500 years old, but more and more people come to see it because of what it is.
I'm not even going to dare to ask you whether we should add some bells and whistles to the game
The bells and
eyeballs.
whistles actually come from legacy and heritage value. I think the positioning and the marketing of it. Therefore, why is the Ashes such a big test contest?
Right.
Because England and Australia have decided that they trace it back to 125 years ago, and they say, wow, look at what has happened over this past century and a quarter.
Right.
And every successive series adds value from the preceding 125 years. That's what we need to do for Test cricket for every match that is played.
Right.
I think, I don't know, Pradeep, do you think that that kind of thing works if the imagination is there and the will?
I'm sure it will work. Why shouldn't it work? You see the crowds which come to watch the Ashes. You see the stadiums are full. The tickets are sold in advance. Similarly, there was a time when India-Pakistan series used to be such a big hit that a lot of people would say an India-Pakistan series is a greater draw than the Ashes itself. So I think what the Indian board or what the ICC needs to do is to, as you said, market it well. Because I'm sure when test matches are close affairs, when they go all full distance to the fifth day, even a last ball draw attracts people if it is exciting. And one has seen crowds coming to the test matches when the series gets interesting. So I'm sure that if the Indian board or the ICC markets Test cricket well, prepares pitches which are favorable to both bowlers and batsmen, does not make graveyards where one team makes 600 runs and then dominates the other team, like what it happens in India when the outside team comes. So if those things are avoided, and it is, as you said, marketed as something which has a great heritage, great legacy, Test cricket will survive. And you know why it is important for Test cricket to survive is that there are certain set of skills which only you can see in Test cricket. Those kind of set of skills those skills are used by cricketers in the shorter format to become outstanding or even outrageously successful cricketers. So if those skills go, what will be left? Then we will be left with a T20 cricket where it will be just like a gully danda match or a baseball match where you don't require bowlers, you require bowling machines. The ball is thrown and a batsman hits a six. So to make Test cricket survive is an important factor for all of us, because only then even T20 or one-day cricket will have certain added quality to it.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir, with your views. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Right. So Mr. Pradeep unfortunately had to leave. But I want to ask you this question. You know, with all the scrutiny on Mr. N. Srinivasan, can we actually expect him to toe the line, and maybe he's going to surprise us all?
He's going to set the line. How can he toe the line? Now that he's the chairman of the ICC, he's going to draw the line. Everybody else has to toe the line.
Right. So how do you think this line is going to be? Is it going to be a line that we're all going to like?
Look, I think what has happened now is he's got a big mandate. You know, in the sharing of the spoils, as I mentioned earlier, there were some misgivings from the other cricket boards that they might be short-sold. Now it seems that actually the money also which may accrue to them will be better or bigger than what used to be earlier. It may not be as big as what England, Australia, and certainly India are getting, but they will. So there's no equity or equality. It's it's decided on how much I bring to the table and how much I get out of it.
Right.
So that's the kind of distribution of the wealth. But I think that if he is fair-minded and if he is broad-minded, then because he's got such a huge mandate and in the Indian Cricket Board, and he represents, in a sense, the Indian Cricket Board also is so powerful, he can push the envelope.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Okay, so that question of mine is answered. But I also had a few more questions about cricket that I went and asked out people. Let's see how well they fared.
International Cricket League.
International Cricket Council.
Indian Cricket Association, Indian Cricket Council.
International Cricket Council.
International Cricket Control, I think so.
International Cricket Conference.
International Cricket Council.
I think so. He was Mr. Srinivasan only.
No idea.
Previously it was Sharad Pawar, I know.
Oh, don't know.
Australia or England?
It's at Churchgate, I think.
Dubai.
London? I'm not very sure.
Maybe in England.
In Dubai.
Okay, so 2001, 2006, 7, I don't know.
2008.
Maybe 2008 or 2009.
In 2012 or something. Wall.
He's known as an orthodox cricketer.
The wall.
He's a rock. He's very steady, very technically sound and all that. Ball.
Spin bowler.
As I believe you have a question you want to ask the viewers.
Well, you know what? A lot of people couldn't get Rahul Dravid's nickname.
Moniker, yes.
Moniker, right. So, my question is that the current Australian captain, what is he known as?
Australian captain.
Is Michael Clark.
Michael Clark. Okay.
But what is his moniker?
Is it something like the wall?
Well, I can't tell you. That's the question.
Okay, so no clues for me, no clues for you as well.
No clues for them, but it's a very easy answer. Whoever gets it right, I'm sure you're going to give them a prize.
Yes, of course. And you better be fast because I'm going to be Googling as well. You can tweet us your answers at Boom News TV or at The Cricket Wala. Alright, that brings it to a wrap. That brings our show to a wrap. But just closing thoughts, so I asked, what are we looking at? Way forward for Mr. N. Srinivasan?
I think now he's in the saddle. I think the only hitch that I can see possibly is that if the Mukul Mudgal panel, which is appointed by the Supreme Court, comes up with a really adverse decision or report against him, and therefore the ICC will be in a quandary how to handle it. But barring that, he's got a 2-year tenure. Let us see what he can achieve in 2 years. 2 years is not 20 years. However, 2 years is also not 2 months. There's a substantial period of time to do a lot of things.
Right, Mudgal judgment against him, and then you will have to tune into another show of Cricketomania to see what Mr. Ayaz Memon thinks about that.
But we'll expect, we'll wait for the Mudgal report and let's see what happens then.
Let's see what happens then. All right, thank you so much for watching us, and do remember to keep batting for the right side.